Welcome everybody, I'm Jeff Doerr with Quality Digest, and I am sitting here with Matt Lowe, who is a Board of Director member and Board Advisor for MasterControl. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be here with you today.
Thank you. So I asked for this interview because I've seen you around the industry, and we've chatted informally a couple of times at various conferences. And what struck me when I was talking to some of your staff is that you've done almost every job at MasterControl in your, 2 decades that you've been here?
Yep, yeah, it's over 16 years now, I guess. Okay. It's been quite a journey. Lots of different hats. I always figured, there's an opportunity there. If there's something new for me to learn, let's give it a shot.
So CTO, sales director, everything, right?
Yep. Product, engineering, marketing, sales, go-to-market. I've worked closely with our CEO for many, many years now. It's been a wonderful ride.
So one of the interesting things in your prior role at MasterControl, you had a title that I had not seen maybe only once before in various executive titles. Chief Product and Marketing Officer.
Yes.
I've seen CMO, I've seen CPO, but never CPMO. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's funny. Interesting, because prior to my life in software, product and product managers always lived inside the marketing department. It wasn't until I came to MasterControl that I saw it separated. And it's pretty common to do that in software companies, where you've got a CPO and a CMO. MasterControl, because of my journey here and the breadth of what I've been able to do here at the company, it was much easier for us to pull those together under a single umbrella. And if you think about the functions of the two departments, product is really responsible for identifying what the next opportunity is going to be. What's happening out there in the marketplace? What kinds of needs can we solve for our customer base? How do we make a business proposal out of that? How do we monetize it? And then you've got marketing that is very much in touch with the customer and the market and the sales team that is day in and day out in front of prospects. And what you see is there's often an artificial wall that gets created between the two departments.
It certainly removes the silo aspect, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's that can be detrimental to the company. And when you're able to pair those two together, I think it gives you a real advantage.
But were you able to do it because, kind of put you on the spot here, because of you and your history, or were you able to do it because it just made sense and it could be applied to any company?
Yeah.
Or if you talked about this idea in other companies, they'd go, that doesn't make sense.
What about that? Yeah. No, I think this is a principle that can be applied in any company. And like I said, before I came to software, it's actually very common in the industry to see those two functions in a common leadership structure. So again, I think software,
it just lends itself to that.
Yeah, because of the technical nature of it, I think people have split it, but I don't think it has to be that way.
So you're saying within software you actually would find a number of CPMOs?
Not within software, outside of software.
Outside.
You'd see that very common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think it has great applicability in software as well, especially as we as software developers try to mature our product marketing organizations. You've got product managers and you've got product marketing managers, and then you've got marketing. And the PMMs kind of sit in between these two functions. well, let's just bring them all together.
It almost sounds like, to oversimplify it, you're almost saying that, we think of software, for example, as the avant-garde, more advanced, all the, fail forward fast, and a lot of the real groovy things that are happening in software. And the more legacy-oriented companies and industries look to software for sort of emerging trends.
Right.
It sounds like the reverse happens.
Correct.
In this particular case.
Yep. Yeah, there are definitely things we can learn from each other.
Sure.
Right.
Let's shift to ASQ. Last May when we were chatting at the 2022 conference. I noticed that since that was the first time they had the conference since 2019, and in the exhibit hall where you guys were, there were a number of new QMS operations.
Yes.
Granted, not like you guys or ETQ or any of the big names, but very niche oriented. But they certainly have popped up.
Oh yeah.
And at Quality Digest, we've certainly seen new
influx,
advertisers.
right?
It's like, great. Where'd you guys come from? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. There were some really large acquisitions that occurred in our space over a number of years, and I mean, two really big ones with the Sparta Honeywell transaction last year and the ETQ Hexagon transaction this year. And when those kinds of things come up in the business press, investors take note. And so there's definitely an influx of equity investment that is coming into this space. And I would say in life sciences in particular. You've also got kind of the runaway success of Viva, who is a publicly traded company, and that attracts a lot of attention. So you definitely see a different competitive set than you saw a couple years ago. Not all of them will make it, but I don't think we've seen the end of that either.
And what's reassuring to me, if I can say this sort of parenthetically, is every single name you mentioned is a customer and client of Quality Digest.
So you've seen them all.
And we're thrilled with it. When you talk about an EQMS, from a product and marketing perspective, what is the biggest challenge at providing such a product to the marketplace? In fact, let me phrase the question differently.
Okay.
Those new little companies that we were talking about that are popping up in providing niche QMS services, if you were to sit down with them, what would your most important piece of advice be to them in their efforts to provide a successful QMS to customers, to the market?
That is a great question. I'm trying to think of where to even begin with that one.
Okay. So there's a list.
You could have a checklist on that one. But I think one of the things, and you mentioned a very important word, niche. Being deep in the vertical and really understanding what your customer set does and what they need in their specific business circumstance, that's probably the most critical thing you can do. You can try to be all things to all people, but you're probably going to crash and burn. So pick your lane and be very good within that lane.
And would you say that with regard to MasterControl, it's life sciences is that lane that you've chosen?
Absolutely. Okay. That's one of the, I think, differentiating factors with MasterControl and our strategy. If you look at a lot of our competitors, some of which we talked about, they tried to go more horizontal to other industries. MasterControl has doubled down on the life sciences, and what we are looking to solve as many problems for the life sciences as they'll allow us to do.
And I think John mentioned yesterday, the current CEO, that 10 to 20%, 10 to 15% of your customers are actually outside of life sciences. So there is some applicability of your software to other non-life science?
Sure, yeah.
Or are they really sort of just close cousins to the life science area? They're not some distant, unrelated. Is there some connection that
Sure.
10 or 15% has to the mainstream of life science?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things a lot of folks don't know, I mean, MasterControl has been around for almost 30 years now. And when we started, we actually predated all of the 21 CFR Part 11.
Really?
So life sciences was not actually our initial focus.
Okay.
We were serving manufacturers that were looking to be ISO certified. And so we have clients that have been with us. In fact, I was talking to one of them today, since the mid-90s.
Really?
That are not in the life sciences. And so there's some of that where the customers have been with us for a really long
So
time.
more legacy type customers that.
But there are also customers that, you know, maybe somebody came out of the life sciences to.
Oh, and they were the decision maker or influencer.
They know us, they love us,
Yeah.
they know what we can do. So yeah, it's definitely, we don't intentionally market in that area, but the functionality is serviceable.
It's really incidental to your main strategy,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Your crystal ball.
Okay, yeah.
In 5 years, 2027. Doesn't that sound like a long time
yeah,
from now?
it does, yes.
But it's such a high number. But it's like, wow, it really is only 5 years. How will a typical, not necessarily MasterControl's EQMS, but an EQMS in general, how similar will an EQMS of 5 years into the future look compared to today's EQMSs?
Well, I'll tell you, having been at the helm of product strategy here for a very long time, it will not look the same.
Really?
We got to see a kind of a little sneak preview of that in the plenary sessions this morning with our advanced QEM product. This idea of purpose-built no-code solutions, I think, is core to where the future is headed. Data at the heart of everything, so that you can operate algorithms and models on top of that data. We're moving really from many, many years of what I would call reactive quality, where you're constantly dealing with things that have already happened. How do we move to a predictive and a prescriptive model? And you know, when we embarked upon our new product development efforts, I emphasized with the team over and over again, we are moving from an age where we have been a software applications developer to where we are a purveyor of business insights. We are a data company, and really we need to make our software application as easy as possible for people to put the data in so that we can operate on the data and make their businesses better.
I keep hearing this over and over again now. You know, it's the data that's really at the center.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not just the data qualitatively, but also quantitatively.
Yes. Yep.
For our readers, could you just define purpose-built?
Yeah,
and also
absolutely.
no code.
Yes,
Those two
sure,
things.
certainly. So no-code platforms, this is an idea that has been around for many, many years. And you know, the IT world has talked of all the promise and cool things that a no-code platform can do. You know, it's basically this idea that you can give people a toolbox, non-IT people, that allows them to build a software that is built for the process that they're trying to automate. There are several vendors in this space that are very large and have been around for a long time. A great example of a no-code platform is Force.com that underpins Salesforce.
Yeah.
The issue with a no-code platform, if it is not purpose-built for the problem that you are trying to solve, is that there's going to be a lot of extra work and missing stuff to actually solve the problem that you're trying to go after. So when we talk about purpose-built, we're talking about a no-code platform that was built to automate quality processes, not IT tickets or customer calls or all the other things that are out there. It was done specifically for quality processes.
So you're really focusing on the quality process and the experience that a company has with regard to making good products, making good services, rather than focusing on what we traditionally think of the activities that a quality professional would do.
Yes, it's that deep domain expertise and knowledge that allows you to purpose build something like that.
All right, excellent. Let's kind of do a little Imagineering here. Let's imagine that a panel of top university presidents calls you, and they're sitting up there on the dais, and they ask you by yourself to advise them of what it is they are not providing to the young university students today that will prepare them for effectively managing quality into the future.
Okay. Yeah, it's, we'll rewind to the crystal ball.
Okay.
They've got to know about data, how to ingest it, how to manipulate it, how to analyze it in mass quantities using technology. I think there's got to be much greater focus on that, because if we don't see that coming out in the new quality professionals of our day, they're going to get left behind.
You know, it's interesting that the chairman of the board, Blanton Godfrey of ASQ, who's also a professor at the University of North Carolina, he said almost the exact same thing.
And I didn't know
5
that.
months ago in an interview with him. Almost exactly the same thing.
I feel like I'm in good company.
Yeah, you know, he's certainly a figure in the industry. It's interesting because he said that quality is disappearing from the quality professionals title, and they're actually becoming data scientists.
Yes.
And you're in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
To predict and prescribe, you've got to have your arms around the data.
Oh, boy, what a difference in. You know, I mean, I started in quality in the 1980s in quality circles. What a difference in the journey. So let's continue with young people. In addition to, you know, really, let's imagine people that they've come out of universities, they've spent 2, 3, 4 years. You know, it's at that stage typically a lot of people start to recognize in their mid-20s, oh, this is kind of the area I'd like to be. Like my own son, for example, chemical engineer. He thought he was going to be, you know, doing all kinds of cool things, but then started realizing he really loves project management and sales. So he started moving in that direction. So for those people those young people that have spent 2, 3, 4 years out of college and they start looking at the quality profession and they start saying, you know, maybe that's something I'd like to do. What, aside from the education of being able to really manage large sets of data, what would you advise them to start thinking about skills to acquire, knowledge to acquire?
You know, one of the things that I think is not equally as important, but very important in the quality profession is understanding how to position your cause with your executive team. You know, I think one of the traps that we fall into in the quality profession is this constant beating of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt drum. Well, you know, if we don't do this, the auditor's going to come in and they're going to do this. Let's transform to a state where we're saying, if we do this, it is going to mean this from a cost perspective, this from a time to market perspective. It's a completely different language. And so starting to develop those skills, deep down, we're all salespeople. We've all got to pitch something to someone. And understanding how do I pitch the importance of quality and what it means to our business to the rest of my leadership peers, we got to figure that out.
Pitching the benefits of it, where quality will take the organization, rather than pitching the pain that we can avoid.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
How do we turn into the accelerator and not the brakes?
Okay, you might have answered my last question, because in a way, it's what we're hearing at Quality Digest more and more is that CFOs seem to be taking a greater interest in quality. In a way that we never heard it before.
Yep.
You know, like it was, as far as, I mean, I remember the days, which wasn't so long ago, that CFOs thought, you know, can't we just get rid of the quality department?
It's a cost center.
Yeah, it's a cost center. Is it a necessary
Yeah.
expense? Is it a necessary evil? We got to have it for compliance purposes and so on. What's going on? Why are the CFOs starting to take note? And why are the CFOs starting to say, you know, I've been reading these things about quality, and why are we talking about risk management, risk mitigation? Why aren't we talking about risk avoidance?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, you know, I think people recognize that quality of your product in and of itself is a differentiator. It is something that people will pay for. I mean, you look in the automotive industry and people pay for reliability and quality.
Sure.
CFOs recognize that. There's also the aspect of you can do some things that are really detrimental to your business. I mean, it can erode the goodwill with your customer base. So, risk avoidance, how do you keep that from happening? And that's where we come full circle to this. The data becomes so important. Now we start to predict things before they occur, and we can start to put measures in place that are much less costly, much more timely. CFO's happy, CEO's happy, head of sales is happy. You know, we become a much more integral part of the overall executive picture.
I suppose you could extend my question really to include other C-suite people.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of picked on the CFOs because that's kind of fresh on our horizon
They're
right now.
easy to pick on, Jeff.
Well,
So
yeah, right. But you know, you can imagine, you know, why wouldn't that same argument apply to the CMOs or to the you know, any of the C-suite people really, even the regulatory compliance guys. So, but certainly the CFOs have, you know, a very special place.
Yes.
In making change happen, you know, within a culture, the way they look at things. If they stop, let me put it sort of bluntly. If they stop bitching about quality being a cost center, you know, things that can change a culture of an organization.
Absolutely, and especially in the market that we serve, life sciences, you've got to have a quality culture. I mean, we're talking about people's lives. It's not, you know, something breaks on your television or something. I mean, it's somebody could die. And
or somebody could live.
Absolutely. And that's probably the more important part. You know, kind of drinking my own Kool-Aid there. Somebody could live. How do I get a product in people's hands faster and worry less about the quality, not worry less, but focus on what am I doing to get to market faster at high quality.
Let me sneak in another question related to this thing about speed you were just talking about. So the Genome Project, the Human Genome Project, 15-year project, halfway through the project at about 7.5 years, they had decoded barely 1% of the genome. And skeptics were coming and critics were coming out of the woodwork saying this is going to take a century, totally underestimated the scope of this. But what they didn't take into consideration is, since we are products of the African savanna, we tend to look at things in a very linear fashion. They didn't really take into account anything related to IT tends to have an exponential set of curves associated with it. And so the amount they were decoding was actually doubling every year, and it had really started that way. So they get to 1% after 7 years, which was an enormous achievement coming from zero. All right. So then every year after that it doubles, and going from 1% to 100% is only 7 doubles. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So that's 7 doubles, and that's 100%. In the realm of, and we spoke with Vika about this as well, in the realm of AI and machine learning in particular that you guys are doing, do you expect those same exponentials to affect the EQMS products out there?
Absolutely. I don't think there's an aspect of our lives that isn't affected in that way. We are no longer in a linear growth world. It's all exponential, and the curves just look completely different.
But how do you communicate that to the? I would say from where I sit, most people don't see it that way.
No.
They see it in a linear.
Yeah.
It's up. The slope is up.
Up and to the right.
Up and to the right.
Yep,
yeah. How do you communicate that to the quality professional that you're actually going to be working with tools that are going to be doing this?
Yep.
In 5 and 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's in AI in particular, I think we're in a state where a lot of the hard science has been done. The models exist, the algorithms exist. I don't view us as creating new models and algorithms. What we are doing is productionalizing AI. And we talked about it in our session this morning. It's practical. How do you put it to use in simple ways that make the life of the quality manager much, much easier?
But that's when the the market, the industry starts to see it.
Yes, yeah, it's
because otherwise it's
every
just
day.
stuff that we read about. But now it's stuff that we are actually using and implementing and changing, the nature of how an organization works.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, there's a book called Prediction Machines. It was actually, I'm trying to remember the author, but it was written by an economist.
Oh, okay.
And I can tell you it's my favorite book on AI and machine learning.
Is it?
Because it's from an economist's viewpoint.
As opposed to the technology.
Yeah, the deep technology. And it's what we're doing is making prediction much more affordable. And when you can do that, you start to use it in all kinds of places that you never thought of using.
We can't even imagine today.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where we're headed as a quality profession.
Fantastic. Absolutely fascinating. Matt Lowe.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Matt.